Storytime with Pedal TV.
What up, pedalheads? It's your main man Eddie Monster here, back with Storytime. That's right, it's been a while. It's been a long time. But today's story is the reason why I created this segment in the first place. And of course, if you like everything you see on the YouTube channel, please subscribe to it. That's right, I greatly appreciate everybody that subscribes to this channel. So thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. All right, so like I said, Storytime was specifically created for this reason. I've been thrown into a lot of situations with musicians in life, thanks to an old friend of mine. Well, one day we found ourselves in Providence, Rhode Island at a club, and we were there to meet Evan Seinfeld of Biohazard and Tara Patrick, who was his wife at the time. And we ended up running into a whole bunch of people that night, which was unbelievable. It was probably one of the most fun nights I ever had, but the most important part of that whole night is who I met. Now, let's go back a little bit, right? So the first time I had ever heard of Limp Bizkit was, I believe it was like early 1998, maybe 97. I don't remember. But there was a kid that I went to school with. His name was Banshee. That's what we called him. I don't know why. I think that was like his last name or something. But a lot of times in my school, that's what a lot of times you were called by your last name more than your first name. But anyways, he was a huge Bizkit fan. See, I was a Korn fan at the time, and he was a Bizkit fan, and he was always like, Limp Bizkit, and I'm just like, I don't know what that is. Whatever. I'm not in tune with it. But later on that summer, that's right, the summer of '98, it was the first time I had ever gone to a concert, and it was Ozfest. And of course, Limp Bizkit was on Ozfest '98, where they had the giant toilet. And I so happened it was a 2-day event in Mansfield, Mass. 2 days, because a lot of tour dates of Ozfest at that time, some of them had 2 dates. But the one that I went to happened to be the one that Lynn Strait got arrested. I'll never forget it. Giant toilet, naked man, running away, Mansfield PD, running up trying to capture him and stuff. Yeah, it was a hell of a time and left a lasting impression. That is for sure. And from then on, I was hooked on the Limp Bizkit, and the rest is history. I remember for a long time I was rocking the red cap, but it wasn't a Yankees cap. Being from Boston, it was not a Yankees cap. I had the Limp Bizkit hat that was red. I got it at Newberry Comics. Never forget it. And I rocked that fucking thing all the time. Even when it wasn't cool anymore to rock a Limp Bizkit hat, right? Because I went to Summer Sanitarium in '03 when it was Metallica Bizkit, and seeing some of the hatred. And I'll never forget even that show. People seeing Fred with the Yankees cap were yelling out, Yankees suck, and he stopped the show to be like, it's a fucking hat. He's like, if you're not happy, he goes, throw me one of yours. And he literally put on somebody's, I think it was a Patriots hat at the time, though. I don't think it was a Red Sox cap. But nonetheless, anyways, as history would have it, there'd be a little bit of a lull period where there was nothing going on with Bizkit. And I believe it was 2007. I believe, because when I asked him what he was doing in Providence, Rhode Island, he answered he was filming a movie. So, to go back, now we're in this club, and we had met Evan Seinfeld, who was pretty busy because, his wife was signing autographs, doing stuff like that. So he was pretty caught up with that. And meet this band called Diecast. We saw them. We looked at them, and we're like, these dudes are musicians for sure. We went up, talked to them. Of course, they were. And had a good time talking to them. And then all of a sudden, I'm just hanging around, and who walks in the door? Fred Durst. But he didn't have the cap on. So at first, I'm like looking at him like, this dude looks fucking familiar, man. And the reason I figured out who he was because of the neck tattoo. You see it enough times on MTV and things of that nature. you tend to be like, oh my God, that is Fred Durst. My buddy was always the more talkative one. I was kind of the shy guy at the time. I had really bad like anxiety and stuff like that of going up and talking to people who are famous. Because you tend to put them on a pedestal, you know what I mean? And you tend to do that a lot of times. But he, as much as he talked, and believe me, my buddy fucking ran his mouth all the time. He was kind of speechless. He didn't know what to say, and he was like, we were trying to start a band at the time. I don't know, it was a weird thing. Anyways, he was like, no, you need to go talk to him. He goes, you're the front man. He's a front man. You need to go. So I'm sitting there like, well, what the fuck do I say to this guy? Right? And I'm walking up and I'm seeing people go up to him and be like, oh my God, Limp Bizkit, you're my favorite band ever. You know, and like the typical shit that you always hear people say, right, to somebody. And I immediately was like, fuck, you know, I can't be that guy. So I walk up to him, and I really was in a band. We had nothing. Like, no music, no nothing. It was just two of us starting a band. So kind of pathetic. But anyways, I walked up to him and I said, hey, hey, Fred, my name's, Eddie, blah, blah, blah. And I was wearing an Ozzy Osbourne Blizzard of Oz t-shirt. And he immediately stopped me and was like, dude, cool fucking shirt. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And I remember just asking him, like if he had any advice for struggling artists, blah, 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 things of that nature. And we got into this really long conversation. It was fucking awesome. It was awesome. He was one of the coolest dudes I ever got to talk to. And we had an honest 5-minute conversation where it was just back and forth banter and talking about how the scene kind of sucked, at the time, and, how things were kind of rough. And, yeah, man, he left a lasting impression on me. And I've been seeing a lot of people throwing flowers towards Fred Durst lately, and much deserved, in my opinion. Much, much deserved. He's a guy, even back then, he doesn't have to fucking talk to anybody, first of all. Okay? But he did. And he took time out of his day at this club to talk to me for 5 minutes, however it was. Even though I was also, by the way, interrupted by Evan Seinfeld, who, by the way, was on VH1 Supergroup saying, well, we could always give our band a stupid fucking name like Limp Bizkit. Whatever. Anyways, no shade towards Evan. None. Okay, I'm not pissed that you fucking acted like I wasn't there having this conversation with somebody. But, yeah, so, I mean, shit happens. And I always felt like, man, this dude is cool. Like, he literally asked if you have a CD or if you have this is how long ago this was. It was MySpace, right? If you have a MySpace, he goes, I will check out your band right now when I get a chance. And even one of the guys from Diecast who had talked to Fred later on that night was like, dude, you left quite the impression on him. So, yeah, he deserves all this recognition, in my opinion. The guy, no matter what, goes on stage, gives 100% of who he is on stage every night. I know, Loserville, I saw him. It fucking rocked. Okay? The energy in that fucking amphitheater was unlike anything I had ever seen, man. If you watch the Woodstock special, right, they say there is something about Limp Bizkit when they go on stage, the energy just goes absolutely berserk, right? And it's like this phenomena, right? It's like this tsunami of aggression just comes out, and man, I saw it in the amphitheater that I was at Loserville, right? The energy was insane. It was like waves of like, It was nuts. And that's Limp Bizkit, man. No matter what, no matter the hate that might be thrown his way, the dude goes up there and he gives you 100% of who the fuck he is. And the whole band does too, right? I met Wes and made a complete fool of myself to Wes. I looked like a fucking dork talking to Wes. But Wes was one of the nicest guys because he's probably like, here's another fucking dork, right? And I would get it. You know what I mean? Like 100% deserved it. But just saying, I'm seeing the things Fred's doing now with MGK and then what is it, Lawrence Sanderson, I think, and it's awesome. He always gives to new artists. I mean, he brought Bones and so many other artists along with him for Loserville. They didn't even have to, including Corey Feldman. He didn't have to do that, right? But that's the kind of guy that he is. So I'll always be a Limp Bizkit fan, and that was Storytime. If you had an experience with Fred, let me know in the comments below if you had an experience with him. And I would love to read what your experiences are, if you had any, with the man himself, the man with the red cap. Let's go. As always, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you next time. Stay metal.